Hello everybody, welcome to Ask Polymath Geddy. I am Geddy Friedman, your favorite polymath. Probably the only polymath you've ever heard of in this age of specialization. We have a question today from Elena in Orlando, Florida. And it's pretty long, so let me run through it really quickly for you. She asks, what can I do to discourage my son from smoking marijuana? I have used family members, for example, in trying to explain to him the damages it does. I've had him read articles and watch videos. My son Alex is normally very well behaved, very respectful person, good grades in school. It's not a social issue anymore since we moved to New York now. He smokes alone if no one's around. I've tried to shelter him as much as I could from what I believe can be titled bad life. We used to be close, now he won't open up. I give him space, but I'm scared it's going to escalate in destructive behavior. He's going to lose focus. So now welcoming any suggestions, opinions, or advice. Okay, well, Elena, thank you very much for your question. I think I have a good answer for you, and it's something that, to me, it just seems like it would be the most obvious answer. And basically what you're doing is you're telling me that you're trying to discourage him from smoking by showing him bad examples of people who smoke and seeing the things that it may eventually lead to if you continue going down this path. That's one way to approach it, and that seems to work for some people. For others, it doesn't. I think you have to understand the main reason he's smoking and what this is all about for him. And I think smoking, in that sense, is really just an act of escapism. He's trying to escape some type of feeling or some type of fear. It's basically an expression of weakness. Apparently, he's not too happy about something, and he needs it resolved. And he's afraid that he doesn't have the power to do it, or he doesn't have the resources or the people behind him who would give him the right amount of attention and understanding and support to solve this problem. So what does he do? He resorts to an act of escapism, which is smoking marijuana, and hopefully maybe it'll buy him some time to not think about these things for a while. And basically he really needs to decide what his goals are. Because the only way he's going to overcome this issue is not by seeing bad examples, because the more bad examples you show him, it can actually have the reverse effect too. For some people it works. For some people they say, oh my goodness, I don't want to end up like this, and they run. For other people, they'll see an example of all the terrible things that can happen to them, and since they've already resigned themselves to the life of smoking, they also now resign themselves to having this dreadful fate, and they just succumb completely. So you don't want to let him go that far. What you'd rather do, since you've already tried this tactic of trying to discourage him and trying to show him bad examples of people who've done these things and how he doesn't want to be a part of that, instead, try to find what he's escaping from. What feelings is he afraid to let surface? What fears does he have about his immediate future? And what can you do to help resolve this? And I would approach him more as a friend who has experience with life than a mother. Because if you approach him as a mother, he may have this opinion or this preset disposition as to how a son relates to one's mother. And so if you approach him as a mother to a son, he's going to have a certain type of angle that he's looking at you from, and it might not have the effect you want it to. So approach it really as someone who's much older, who has wisdom and maturity and understanding, and approach it in such a way that you give him inspiration to not need the marijuana anymore. Because really the marijuana is just an escapism tactic. So if he has a natural high for life, if he's actually happy for life and actually has ambitions that he can look forward to, he's not going to have to resort to these tactics. Some people use marijuana, other people use some other type of drugs, other people resort to cutting themselves, hurting themselves, putting themselves into ridiculous situations just to see what happens because they're bored with life. I mean, there's all kinds of variations of this type of escapism playing out. Your son's version of that is marijuana, going off in some place quietly and smoking by himself, and maybe he's introverted, maybe this is his way of separating from the world and getting in touch with himself. But really, I am not 100% against the idea of marijuana, because I do understand the medical benefits of marijuana, especially people who've suffered trauma or they're in extreme physical pain due to some recent injury and they need to numb their senses while they go through the recovery process as a temporary phase. I understand the value of that, so I'm not completely going to come down on his decision to be that way. I just think that it's really just a lack of parental guidance and a lack of love that he's feeling about his situation. You have to give him greater wisdom, greater input, and greater direction and support, and make him feel as if he can open up and speak in whatever way you need him to, in really whatever way he really needs to as well. So basically, it just comes down to him expressing himself and feeling as though he has an outlet, and feeling as though there's something for him to look forward to. So very important, you have to give him a sense of confidence in himself and have him really look for mentors or look for people who have achieved great things so that he can emulate them and feel inspired by them. And then hopefully he can come up with aspirations for himself that very much mirror those that he has admired. I know for me personally, there are many, many heroes that I have for many, many different reasons. And all of them are inspirational to me one way or the other. And not just their successes and the great things that they've accomplished, that means so much to me because they show me what a human being is capable of in this lifetime, but more so their adversity, having to overcome odds that sometimes were stacked against them. Now, there are some people who have accomplished great things that had life handed to them. They were born rich, they had all these opportunities, they had all the facilities and resources necessary to achieve great things, and it was a really easy trick for them to just become successful. They just apply themselves to the obviously convenient situation. But for most of us, it's not so convenient, and for some of us, it's extremely difficult. And I relate to those who have it really, really bad. So I don't know how his situation is. I'm assuming it's not as bad as mine was as a kid. I had a lot of difficulty, and my own parents didn't even support anything I did, so I went through a lot of abusive situations, so I doubt he has it as bad as I did. I didn't resort to drugs. I was introverted. I did resort to other outlets, though, that were more progressive and more focused on moving forward, like teaching myself how to be a drummer and a musician, how to write music. I taught myself how to write poetry, taught myself how to draw, taught myself how to play chess, basically, and win tournaments. Try to help him apply himself in a more positive direction and get him away from the addiction to the drug to feel any sense of self-worth, because the drug is just a temporary means of obtaining what he should already have internally. So let the drug be replaced by a natural high, and the way you do that is by giving him inspirational heroes to aspire to be like, and then have him set up his own goals that he can actually believe in for himself, and then he will have an ambition to accomplish these things. Now granted, he will run into times when he falls back or he falls down, there's a setback of some kind, he's not able to move forward. These are not the times where you go back to the drugs. So just keep that in mind as well. Even if you do get him on a positive note, if something goes wrong, he may resort back to this behavior. Don't let him do that. Let him know it's going to be a little difficult, but it's worth the journey. It's worth the trip. And it's more so about the journey than the destination anyway. It's about what you do along the way and how you grow, how you learn, more so than where you end up. Although I can understand the desire to end up in a certain place, it's really more about how you are growing along the way. Because there are many people who end up in the same place that are not the same people as the other people who have journeyed from afar and learned all these different things along the way. So I hope that helps you. Just have him understand the value of a better life without the drug, more so than the scaring him out of the drug. Because that tactic, as you said, is not working. You have to go and take the other tactic. I hope this helps. If it does, please pass it on. Please share it on Facebook, Twitter, and every other site you're on. And if you know anyone else that has a question, send them my way. And hopefully I'll be able to answer their questions and help more people with some feedback, some other viewpoint that would help benefit them. If you have any further questions, send it to AskPolymathGeddy@gmail.com. I will organize and try to get back to you within a week or two. Thank you very much. I will catch up with you guys soon.